Hi, my name's Montana, and in the next 2 minutes, I'm going to show you how to make a traditional Austrian dessert called Apfelstrudel, or more commonly known as apple strudel. We're going to begin by combining all the ingredients for our dough, which is just flour, oil, some water, and a little bit of salt. Mixed it all together until it's nice and shaggy, and then we're going to knead it by hand until it's really smooth and elastic. You want to put a good amount of elbow grease into this step because you want to develop that gluten network enough so it's nice and stretchy when we roll it out later. Then we're just going to set it aside for around 60 minutes to really let that gluten relax. Next thing we're going to work on is our filling. So we're going to start by peeling and really finely and uniformly slicing our Granny Smith apples. Then we're going to pop them into a bowl with some lemon juice, a little bit of sugar and some cinnamon. Toss everything together, then let that sit aside for around 30 minutes to draw out any extra moisture in the apples. While our dough and apples are sitting aside doing their thing, we're going to soak some raisins in boiling water for around 10 minutes to plump them up a little bit. Then we're just going to drain them and give them a good squeeze and add them to that apple mixture. To make our breadcrumbs, you could usually do this just with pre-made breadcrumbs and toast them in butter, but I like doing them from fresh bread just because I always have some lying around that I need to use up. So chop up your bread, toast it off in a little bit of butter with some hazelnuts until they're nice and golden and crisp, then transfer them to a spice grinder and blitz it until it's a nice fine golden powder. Now to start the pastry. So start by pressing it out and rolling it as thinly as you can just on your bench top before transferring it onto a floured sheet or tablecloth. You want to get the dough as thin as you possibly can so it's nice and crisp after you bake it rather than chewy. So you just want to keep gently pulling it and teasing it and working on those thicker bits and pulling out towards the edges of the pastry. Don't even worry if you get a few holes in it because you're not going to see it in the final product. So just have the main focus of what you're doing as getting it as paper thin as you possibly can. Once you're happy with how thin the pastry is, we're going to lather it in butter, sprinkle on our breadcrumbs and spread them out nice and evenly. The breadcrumbs act as a sort of sponge for the apples or act as a bit of a buffer layer so the pastry doesn't go soggy during cooking. Then we're going to lay out our apples, wrap up either side of the pastry and fold over the top layer, kind of as if we were wrapping a burrito. Then we're going to lather the top of the pastry in butter as well, sprinkle it with a good amount of sugar and pop it in the oven at 180 degrees for around 30 minutes until it's nice, crisp and golden.